Hey everyone, Corey here, coming in to do our September energy update. This month is starting off with a bang, and it's starting off with a Saturn doing a little bit of a jump back into Pisces for a little bit here. So it is causing a bit of a disruption in the energy. It is slowing us down a little bit because Saturn is slow. It is about taking our time. It's about assessing everything. And so it is playing it's playing a big role and having a big impact and a big influence on everything that is happening right now. We do have a bit of everything that's going on. Um, the other thing that is, of course, a lot of chatter around is this moon and the lunar eclipse. And so we have a lunar eclipse, we have the moon energy that's coming up. So we have that full moon, we have the lunar eclipse, and that's all playing out on this weekend coming up. And so it is bringing about the energy that says there is no going back. And the thing that it keeps bringing up for me is, we're never going to, there's never a sense of completion. Like nothing's ever fully complete. And so we tell ourselves the fairy tales around completion. Oh, I feel complete. I feel satisfied. I feel like I'm content. And it's all kind of the illusions until something disrupts us again and disrupts our energy. And so we have this kind of, and contentment is massive when we look at it in a virtue, but when we look at it in the narratives of the stories that we tell ourselves, it has a completely different energy and a completely different connection. And it is playing out with us. It's playing with us a little bit. And so I do have this sense of everything that has been kind of spilling over is beginning to come to some sort of end. So there is how the past spills into our now, right? So the past that spills into our now, this is our time for the completion. And of course, because the way this energy aligns, it also brings about death energy. It brings about great endings. It brings about great destruction. And so there is like those theatrical great endings of stories, narratives, which brings about the end of life in some ways. And it brings about the ending of life sometimes the way that we know it. And so this is how the energy is speaking and coming in. How it affects us on a micro is probably not going to be, it might not be an actual death. It could be the death of a story. It could be a massive transformation. It could be something that's changing in our lives. But it's up to us to take what's transforming and to allow us to give space and time for things to transmute, for it to come back, and not to be in such a rush to kind of jump into an action, to get moving into something that um, when we need to really process what we have been through. And so a part of this Saturn energy is giving us a chance to process where we have been, what we have been through in our lives, what we have experienced in the last 7 years of our lives, what these last cycles meant for us, and to prepare for something new with the wisdom, the knowledge that we have. Now, I'm going to come back into this death because I keep seeing the tarot card of death. And on the tarot card of death, when we see the tower and we see the death card, is that too often people jump into a fear. Oh my God, something bad is going to happen. And it often means something has already happened. Something has already been revealed. We may not have processed it. We may not have dealt with it. We may be avoiding it. We may be ignoring it, but we already have the validation. We already have the knowing. And that's often with endings. So let's just say, for example, if a relationship is ending, the reason why the relationship is ending is because something has already been revealed. There's already been red flags. There's already been something that has come up. There's already been something that has been shown. There's already something in your heart. There's already something of the soul that's calling. We already know something that maybe you've been ignoring. Maybe you didn't want to deal with it yet. Maybe you weren't the person you needed to be. And so in that situation is that now it's like, okay, it's kind of where you are now who you need to be. Life is where it needs to be. And now or you're just like overflowing and you just can't hold it back no more. And so there's a powerful punch with this energy that is a powerful force that forces us in a divine force, in a God's will or in a divine will that overpowers kind of our own freedom that we give ourselves to believe whatever we want to believe, to have to see a truth, react and respond to some of that truth, and really be able to see the kaleidoscopes of perspectives that is being given to us. So one of those, back to that relationship kind of situation, is in that relationship, like, oh, well, I didn't want to have to hurt anyone, or I didn't want to have to deal with it, or um, or it could be something such as, oh, um, but I just love them. And there's such a paradox to that. And so if we were to look at the full story, is that the physical body has been in pain and hurting. You've been disrupted. Something has been disrupted within you. You have been uncomfortable. You have been angry, frustrated, but yet when you step into that relationship, you create the character, the narrative of the story that you want to be in with that person. And you tell yourself that for that period of time. But then the minute there's a space or a gap, real truth comes in, and that could be a lack of trust. It could be further, it could be gaslighting, it could be pain stories, it could be anything. But that comes in and then it communicates, and it's communicating to us. And I just feel like it's like what they're showing me and what they're giving me is like we've been stretching ourselves out and trying to kind of make space, but now it's like when you finally outgrow the Lululemon yoga pants that you bought 20 years ago, and you may have been a size 2, but because they stretch, you can stretch them to a size 8. And now at a size 8, you can see through them. They don't really fit the same way, but you're still trying to wear them. It's the same thing. So some of our relationships in our lives have kind of been there. And so what's inside those yoga pants is a truth. And the truth is now speaking in a way that says, could you put me in a place of where I actually fit? Can you stop lying to yourself? Could you stop trying to fit me into a place where I don't belong and into the past, and allow me to be where I am actually, where I have freedom? And so sometimes the divine intervention is the yoga pants rips and you can't wear them no more, so they're gone. So now you got no other choice, go buy a new pair, right? And so do we go back and buy another size 2, or do you go buy a size that actually fits? Do you keep trying to tell yourself the lies? And so it's where we have the opportunity, because there's still that choice that you can go back and you can continue to repeat, but the ultimate truth is going to keep speaking, and it's going to keep driving the wedge in to the story. It's going to keep speaking a many kaleidoscopes of truth. And those many kaleidoscopes of truth are saying that this is our time to really evolve on a spiritual level, on a physical level, on a mental level. And this is about something bigger than our shadows, about our ego. It is something more. I'm traumatized by the squeaking of birds now. It's a blue jay, and I keep thinking it's a hawk coming in after a hawk came in after my cats yesterday. And so when we begin to really apply that story that I just told about the yoga pants, and not just into the relationships with others, but the relationship with yourself, your relationship with the universe, your relationship with your stories, your relationships with life, and your connection to the stories of the past, and that which now needs to be to be transmuted, to be transformed, to be transmuted, means that it is also bringing about the death card. So when I go back to the death card and I look at the death card in tarot, is that the death card has the knight on the horse coming in, holding a peace sign, right? And so there is a sense of the damage has already happened. In is walking the priest, in is walking the knight, in is walking all that brings about, you know, a surrender, a sense of making peace with what has happened and moving forward, and being able to kind of be given the blessing, giving yourself the blessing, giving yourself the opportunity to kind of take the time that you need to process what you have been through, where you have been, and how do you want to see those dreams come true. And so one of the biggest kind of illusions that we have is this sense of always having to do things and create this consistency, this pattern, and create patterns, but it's patterns that get us into our deepest troubles. And so breaking the patterns is sometimes breaking the consistency that is continuing within our lives. And when we can break free from the consistency, is that we lose the illusion of having to keep repeating something to have a sense of healthiness in our lives. And some of the healthiest habits we can have is to break up with that sense of obligation and duty. And obligation and duty are playing out, and that we are not obligated. It is not our duty to always and consistently be applying ourselves in from the sense of what we have been, the narratives that we have been told in our lives. And so death is coming up, and so it is coming up in endings. It's speaking a truth, and it's also going to, we will see some deaths, and I think there's going to be, over this month, we're going to see some real kind of shocking, surprising kind of deaths around. So endings, which also could be physical deaths. I believe there's going to be, I see a passing of somebody very predominant, someone who really kind of stands up and out in society. They've probably made a big impact or has been a big shit disturber, whatever it is. There's been like, but there's going to be some sort of like that leaves a space. It's leaving a space. And so we have like these empty spaces that are appearing as some of these big energies that have taken up human space are going to be not here. Um, and so there's some big predominant changes that are happening. So there's some real domino effects that are also taking place in September's energy. And because September is coming with a powerful, powerful punch. And I'm like, it's those wow things. I mean, last month, one of those losses to the rock and roll community was Ozzy Osbourne. And Ozzy, believe it or not, when I asked about Ozzy, Ozzy was actually a light who was placed in a place of where darkness exists, um, to try to be a part of change, and that there was a goodness to the soul of that man. And I'm not going to talk anymore about Ozzy's not my place or my right to communicate that, but they showed me that this light and this heavenly being of Ozzy, who was once the man Ozzy. And so that transmuting back is some of that is how it ties out in people who would have been inspired, would have loved to, to how do we inspire others now? And so some of those big empty spaces that are being left, that are going to be left as we go into September, there is someone very predominant who is not who's going to be leaving this earth. And I don't know exactly how it plays out, but it's happening. And it's a big shock factor. It has a big wow to it, and I'm not sure how it unfolds, but it is, and it kind of is a bit of a disruption and it disrupts the energy in some way. This month also brings about the witnessing of kind of change and changes taking place, and it's like and really questioning the how stuck and how much we actually don't like change. And it's going to be bringing about a change. Now, for my last week's energy update, I spoke a lot about like some sort of systems tumbling, falling down, a big change coming in, like a breaking down of systems somehow. We are seeing a breakdown and a stand up, and kind of standing up for some level of truth that brings about, and this is the language they're using, and I don't want to tie it to psychology at all. Some level of this is spiritual language they're giving me of sanity, and it's bringing back. And so it's like we're seeing the tipping point of some place of where uh, insane thoughts, so insanity, which means not balanced, is the way they're telling me, has um, is kind of being returned to some sense of sanity and what that whatever, and so that means some sort of balance and restoring some sort of balance, and it's the beginning of a restoring of some sort of balance wherever that lays out. I don't know, but it's there, and I see it in big places, big ways, and big changes. There's going to be a massive shift and a massive change in direction and in projection of energy. So it's like the sails on a ship are about to change direction. So you may be someone who's been going one direction your forever and so committed to it and so consistent with it, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm gonna, I'm not going that way. I'm not going that way. I'm done. And it's just like turning our sails in a new direction. So for many, and that could be our sight, putting our changing the direction of our like our sight, what we're looking at, the direction we're going. It could be changing a path. It could be changing our minds. It could be changing perspectives. One of the greatest things that you can do during the month of September is to really practice the power of sitting in a silence and really listening and hearing how noisy and chaotic everything has been. And um and I just keep hearing when the earth goes silent, when something kind of really goes silent and really goes quiet, and we see some sort of turnaround and come back. um they're asking that you keep things bright, keep a light on. um this fall, even though society tells us to all be, go into the browns and the beiges, we're being encouraged, inspired to actually stay bright, to wear bright, to keep brightness in our lives, to wear bright colors, to wear like colors that have depth, that have a happiness to them, or some, because they say the collective consciousness has a depressed lower state of energy, whereas this higher energy has a higher it has a higher vibrational energy right to it, and that colors are going to matter. And so you might put on your brown boots and go, you know what, I just don't like them anymore, and I don't want to wear camel color this year. And it's like, but that's the color we always wear because it's fall and we always put on those colors. And your whole body, your mind, your heart, your soul's going, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to wear that again. Just because just because I've been told that that's the color, I don't want to. And what's happening is freedom. You are awakening, you are breaking open, and you are no longer being so tied to the collective consciousness that has created the systems, the programs that keep us running the loops and living in the pattern and the consistency of returning to the continual. Will everyone be on board with that? No, of course not. But you may find yourself wanting to be a rebel against your own self, and it's because you're changing. You're not who you were 3 seasons ago. You're not who you were last season. You are evolving. There is something that is shifting and changing within. And so we are here at this period of time to really live with that thought of, well, that's interesting. And not to have so many opinions about it, not to have so many, so many, not to have so many avenues of where we feel like we have to give straight advice. It's like, oh, if I were you, catch yourself. Every time you go say, if I were you, I would do this, I wouldn't do that. And then ask yourself, how many times have I not taken my own advice? And why do I have such conviction for someone else to take my advice? Why is it so easy for me to put onto somebody else and then let somebody else feel like they're failing themselves and failing me and failing everyone else around them because they're not listening to the advice that I just gave them because they're not certain. They don't have that hell yes response. They don't feel that alive. Or how many times are they going to jump into that action? It's like, be aware, just be curious, be open. It is about perspectives. There is a there is kind of like um this new door opening up, which means a new version of you may be looking at it is your logos. And as the logo starts to enter in and you see the presence of it, is that you're going to start seeing more of the possibility of who you could be without the negative talk, who you could be without judging somebody else, who you could be without the criticism, who you could be without comparison, who you could be if you just set yourself free of placing the expectations on the world to align to making you happy, to filling that space for you, and that you have to be always on the go and always on the move. Wait this month to sign up for that gym class or that or putting your kid in that sport that they're not certain about and just say, oh, you're going to love it. No, if they're not certain and their feet are in the ground, you have to learn to trust their instincts. Their feet are in the ground for a reason, and get to know why their feet are in the ground before you push them forward and push them into something and teaching them not to trust. And that's how we learned not to trust ourselves, because we get a feeling, we get a hit, we have intuition, something is, like nagging at us and we're told we're silly. Don't be so silly, just go do that. You're to stop being lazy, stop being all those things and just go, just do. But something is keeping you there. How about we discover what that is? Heal, resolve, release that so that then you're ready to move forward. Give kids an opportunity to self discover, to become self aware. Give yourself, the adult now, what your inner child was not given the opportunity to have. And that is the freedom to really inquire about why it bothers me, why I'm not interested, why I feel how I do. Ask them about their energy. Do you have the energy? Do you feel you don't have the energy after school? Is there something more that you would like to do? What are you interested in? Get to know the child, get to know yourself, right? And the more that we look back on how there was no opportunity to get to know yourself, you were, right? It's like, so now here's the opportunity to get to know yourself. Get to know your children instead of telling your children who they are, instead of trying to mold them into what you couldn't be or what you think they should be. Get to know them, spend more time with them and not less time, because we believe that kids are learning more by being productive and being busy and being consistent. It's what we do in all of those inconsistencies and recognizing that life is never going to ever complete us and fill us up. It is a big ass journey that we're walking, and that, here's your opportunity through your kids or through acknowledging your inner child with the opportunity to get to know thyself, get to know you, and asking yourself, what do I even like now? What am I even interested in? And trusting your intuition, your instincts, trusting yourself as you move forward this year. This month is coming with some big bangs, some big changes, and some big, hard truths. And those big, hard truths are another version of truth that needs to be acknowledged and needs to be brought into the arena so that we can look at some of the truths that that we haven't looked at because we've been so busy being angry and projecting that anger outward in different areas if you are amongst that energy. So, expect those quakes to keep continuing. The earth is moving. We are shaking up. And the reason why is we're actually being twisted and turned somehow. And and we're also going to start to see some of the illusions, and I'm going to call this again, is that the narrative we're being sold about energy has more to do with building big machines, sucking up energy, than it has to do with us as the little human beings. And those truths are coming up and out, and they're revealing some of the greatest sinister energies, some of the greatest sinister plans that have been up on this earth. And we're going to start to see them unraveling, or the curtain is opening on them, and we're going to see them for what they are. And so we're going to we're going to start to see people and ourselves for what we are, for where we are, and for what we really need to do to bring about change. We're going to see our relationships the same way. I send you so much love. Have a beautiful month of September. Um, there's so much to come. There's so many weather patterns coming in. Um, and so some of those weather patterns, will begin to see a shift in some of those weather patterns by the middle to the 15th to like the 25th, 26th of September. We're going to see some kind of real big kind of weathery patterns coming in as well. And I just keep getting monsoon kind of weather patterns, something monsoon happening as well. And yeah, there's some shutdowns, some reopenings. There's something being shut down, and that could be rumors shut down. It could be stories ending. It could be something bigger, and then reactivated, reopened. Something else is coming. Something is being brought back and trying to come back in again, but it's not going to be able to come back in. So if someone from your past is trying to get back in, recognize that it's there. Shut it down. Do not let it back. I send you much love. We'll talk soon. Bye bye.